just here with some old friends, Eric and Dr. Sakeisha Hylick. They are multi-award-winning TV producers of the Becoming a Millionaire Power Couple TV show. They're marriage and relationship success strategists, generational wealth builders, best-selling authors, and podcast hosts. Minister Eric and Dr. Sakeisha are frequently called upon because of their innate ability to help their clients achieve breakthroughs in their relationship struggles. Whether you're experiencing challenges in your relationship spiritually, emotionally, and or financially, the Hylicks deliver proven systems to break unproductive behavioral patterns and create lifelong change. The Hylicks are the visionaries of Marriage Can Win, a platform founded to help couples who, while dominating their professional lives, are faltering in their personal ones. The Hylicks utilize their platforms to help couples build healthy, strong marriages, build successful businesses, and generational wealth. Welcome, you guys. How you doing?
Oh, doing great. How are you?
So good. I always love getting together with you. It's always a party.
Oh, thank
Same
you.
here.
The feeling
Always
is
a great pleasure.
mutual.
Yes.
Well, we'll start with the same question I'm asking all the experts. If you had the undivided attention of all the married couples in all the world for just a few minutes, what's the most important concept you could teach them about how to live happily ever after with their spouse?
I know what I would say, Eric.
Have at it.
All right. Honestly, one of the things that I've learned just over the course of being in a relationship, being married for over 24 years is just, and I heard someone put it this way. I want to say it was TD Jakes that said, never make a permanent decision based on a temporary emotion or a temporary storm. Because as couples, we go through so many different phases in life, but we have to be mindful that seasons change. So don't get so frustrated that you're ready to throw in the towel just based on that one season. It's going to change. Just like when you're reading a book, that chapter is going to change, but you got to keep going in order to do that. So that would be my 2 cents.
Definitely. And always be willing to hit the reset button.
Yeah.
What worked for you while you were dating is going to be different once you get married.
Yeah.
And once you get married, it may work for one year, 2 years, but after that, things change. It evolves.
Mm-hmm.
So hit the reset button. Make sure you communicate with each other,
Mm-hmm.
your likes, dislike, what's working, what's not working, and stay on your path and always be recalculating, as a navigation system says, in the direction of where you're going. Your long-term goals, your short-term goals, homes, cars, vacations, retirement, education, always be recalculated.
So good. It reminds me of one of my favorite sayings that is, the only constant in life is change. So just keep going because it will all change. I've learned that the hard way as I've tried to keep my kids small. I'm like, they just keep growing. I can't stop.
No, I understand.
So good. Well, I'm really excited for you to share your 5 ways to build a winning marriage right now.
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question because we focus a lot on 3 key areas in relationships, and it's been communication, finances, and sex. But what it has in common is that communication point. Communication is key. So we have this acronym that we like to remind ourselves of: focus on the facts, FACTS. And we break that acronym down to help couples to be able to build that winning marriage. Because number one, the F is going to mean focus on that behavior and not the person. So many times we generalize and we're like, oh, you don't do this, you don't. No, in that instance, that's what they did. They may have made a bad decision, but that doesn't make them a bad person because we're all imperfect beings. So we have to be mindful in our relationship. That part, just focus on that behavior. Because if not, you have your spouse feeling like they're just the worst person in the world. And it's like, it's just something, an instance. It's that snapshot like that we see on social media. It's that snapshot that's not a full picture of who they are as a person. So that F part is really, really important. The A stands for avoiding assumptions. when you've been with someone for quite some time, we automatically assume that we know what he or she is thinking. We know how they're going to respond. But a lot of times when we're assuming, that's based on our perspective. Their perspective may be completely different.
Right.
But
that's why we have
yeah.
to use what we always say is express what you expect.
Yeah.
Because we can't be mind readers. We can't
Yeah.
go all prophetic and deep and everything. We got to express what you expect. Because if we just assume that you know what I'm thinking and what I want from you, you're going to be totally wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, that C in facts stands for consider the other person's feelings. When my husband or their perspective, like my husband was talking about the GPS earlier, a lot of it is your perspective. If you think about it, when we're here on earth, when I see an issue, it may seem like a huge mountain. But when God is looking down at us, his perspective is something minute. So it's all in your perspective, but make sure that you actually consider the other person's perspective. Just like when you turn on the GPS, you assume that you're to get from point A to point B, this is the route that you take. But the GPS will reroute you because there are alternative measures or alternative paths to take. So just be mindful. There are alternative perspectives. Sometimes they may have thought of something that you didn't think about. And it doesn't mean it's not valid. Everybody, my feelings are just as valid as his or my perspective. But if we're not considering that, sometimes you make your spouse feel isolated. And that T, this is a key point. I learned the hard way. I'll raise my hand. The T is timing is everything. If you want your marriage to win, you have to be mindful of timing. Sometimes you'll get a better response if you wait until after, maybe knowing your spouse, you know your spouse better than anyone else. I know for him, don't hit him with the hard stuff as soon as he comes through the door from work. He may need to relax for a little while, might need to have dinner, decompress for the day, but then he's more receptive to what you have to say. But you have to be mindful that you're timing it. And it's not like you're calculating or trying to be deceptive. It's just being mindful. When is my spouse going to be more dialed in, more focused, more receptive? If they're tired, worn out, frustrated, that may not be the proper time to talk to them.
Yeah, and I definitely have to work on the timing too.
Yeah.
Because I know when you're like tired and you're pulled in multiple ways, I don't come and ask you or try to put another action or a task on you. You look at me like,
yeah.
My favorite when my husband calls and says, I have a job for you. I'm like, I have a job and I'm doing it.
And just think about it. How many couples that causes them to butt heads? And it's not that they don't care about how you feel, just the timing. They're exhausted. They've come in from a long day. They've had, challenges in whatever situations, be it work, be it with family members. That may not be the right time to hit them with that. Schedule times just like we do with our clients, we're going to schedule a time to chat, and we're not going to do it when they're distracted with other things, so we can get the most from them, get their time and attention, that we can, kind of make sure that we avoid the distractions. So timing is everything. And the S is just making sure that your marriage is a safe space. It's a safe zone. Because if you want your marriage to win, you can't feel like you're competing against one another. The two of you got to be on the same team, and you got to be able to be vulnerable with one another. But if you can't talk to them, you can't communicate with them, it doesn't feel like a safe space, or you're kind of building your case. So later on, when they get upset with you, you could throw out all the things they've done wrong and all that stuff you've been bottling up inside. They don't feel safe with you anymore. So therefore, they're not going to come to you. So that's going to prevent you guys from winning. When you're winning, or even be it with baseball, basketball, whatever the case may be, everyone's playing their role. They recognize their strengths, their weaknesses, and they bring them together. The coach doesn't stand over them. Oh, you suck at that. You're horrible at that. No, you bring it in. It's a safe space where we can reevaluate the miscues or errors.
Well, if you lose that safe space, you go from being best friends to friends, and then from friends to acquaintances. Like acquaintances are just people who see each other.
Yeah.
So we don't want to do that. We want to stay. You don't want to go the opposite direction.
Yeah. You want to grow closer together.
Very important.
Yeah.
So here's a question. What kind of boundaries or safeguards do you guys put on your marriage to ensure that it is a safe place, but be to keep that kind of trust really intact?
One, you got to set boundaries with external influences, be it in-laws, friends. We have to recognize the relationship is between the two of us. You know, when the two of us got married, God didn't call us as like a group project. You know, we got married, we still respect our families, our friends, but we've made a commitment to one another. Doesn't mean that you forget about your parents or your friends, but your spouse becomes your priority. So we establish those boundaries and make sure that, hey, what's going on here, we have to handle it. When you start bringing more people in, sometimes it causes more confusion and then more division in the relationship.
Also, we have to not put ourselves in compromising positions.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, other words, if I'm going to do a conference call or meeting, and if I'm meeting with a young lady, I need to bring my wife along with me.
Yeah.
You know, that's just an example. If she's going to be meeting with a husky, buff, handsome person, you know, a gentleman, you know, she needs to bring me along, especially if he, you know, looks like me.
Oh gosh.
You know, I don't want her to get confused. You know.
I'm
Okay.
Eric. I think you could take him.
Well, thank you.
Oh my goodness, I can't, Eric.
So those are good suggestions. So I want to go back through the acronym FACTS. The first one, what was that?
Focus on the behavior, not the
Focus
person.
on the behavior. Yes. Okay, so yes, so important. So I think that's similar to kind of focusing on maybe the conflict as well. So I think a lot of times what happens is couples come into conflict and then it's like one of them against the other one. And it's just like this battle, right? And so I think if we can, you know, establish ourselves on the same team and focus on the problem and see that as our opponent, I think that's more effective.
It is. It
Definitely.
is.
And that's why we provide strategies for conflict resolution.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're falling into the F part, and then we say, okay, implement the conflict strategies. And of course, you know, that's where that's a method so you can overcome that conflict.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those strategies because I think there's a lot of conflict, especially I think in the wake of kind of COVID, the COVID era, you know, people are disagreeing a lot. There's a lot of kind of energy around politics and religion and different cultures colliding. I think there's just a lot of difficulty. People are having differences of opinions and they're spending more time together and they're learning things about each other that they didn't know. And they're, you know, just there is a lot of conflict, I think, within families and also between families.
Yeah.
So what are some of those strategies that you teach for conflict resolution?
Now with conflict resolution, I think this is one of his favorite parts to teach because we learn so much from it. But when you have conflict, you've got to limit it to one thing. You know, I'll raise my hand as a woman. When we start to express what's on our heart, we could go from A to Z. And he's like figuring out, wait a minute, what the heck just happened? Are you mad at me about A, B, C, D, E, you know, or you go on to Z, but just limit it. What's the top one or two things that's really on your heart that we need to deal with? And then we would establish boundaries. Okay, we're going to talk at this time about this. We're not going to have any interruptions. We're not going to have cell phones. We're not going to have TV. Kids aren't going to be mommy, daddy. No, you create that safe haven so you guys can talk and focus on one another and the issue at hand so you can get it resolved. And each of you will come up with ways to resolve the conflict. You know, you'll come up with one or two ways, he'll come up with one or two ways. And then you start having this dialogue in regards to how you can resolve it. So both of you have skin in the game. You both are coming up with ideas. So that way, you know, hey, we can make a decision on how we're going to handle it, set a timeline, see how we're improving. If not, then we can go to option 2, but you're both have contributed to it. So it doesn't feel like one person is always putting forth the effort, trying to resolve the conflict. No, you're going to have to bring something to the table as well. I think that's one of the first times I've actually just kind of gone through it. This is his baby with conflict
Let's hear
resolution.
I was thinking something really bad.
What?
I was just thinking something. I was like, it was a little devil sitting here saying, "Oh, I mean, it's real comical." And I was
Yeah.
like, "No, I'm not gonna say it." I was sticking to the professional.
Yes, please do. Please do.
But yeah, with conflict resolution,
Yeah.
we definitely have to go to the emotions.
Yeah.
Because emotions always play into when there's a conflict.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that when there's high emotions, well, typically when there's high emotions, there's low intelligence.
Yeah.
We're not thinking about what we're saying. You know, that what do you call it? That emotional IQ, emotional.
Low emotional IQ.
So,
Or,
right.
or
So,
emotional maturity too, right? That can
Yeah.
right. We have to call timeout. Timeout.
Yeah.
And, you know, typically we say pineapples. You know, pineapples. Oh, that's your safe word. So it
Yeah.
means go to your corners.
Yeah.
If we can't verbally express our point of view,
Yeah.
then we need to go to nonverbal
hmm
and definitely nonviolent, but nonverbal. So
I'm
we
not
need to
gonna,
give-
you're looking at me out the corner of your eye when you said that. That's not me. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But seriously, you know, you do, like you said, you can continue with that, the
conflict.
nonverbal.
Right, the nonverbal.
Mhm.
So yeah, that way, okay, whatever the conflict is,
Mhm.
let me go and write two ways that I feel that we could resolve this issue.
Mhm.
And then she'll go write down two ways that she can resolve the issue. We come together, play with all the rules that you mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
distractions. I read mine, you read yours, and then we can agree, okay, let's try yours first. Let's try my second, vice versa. If yours works, fine. Chalk it up. It's a win. If it doesn't, let's try mine. Okay. If it doesn't, let's go to our second option. And then that's a method that keeps us from high emotions that rise. I rise here. So it's like my voice is here. And then her voice is there. Then her voice, then she starts singing alto. And then I start singing alto. And I'm supposed to be starting at bass. And then she's at high octave. She's, you know, because your emotions go, your voices rise. And then rise, temperatures rise, emotions rise, intelligence is lower, you get. So you're not thinking about anything what you're saying. All of a sudden, hurtful things are coming out. And it's some things that you just can't pull back in. You're like, you see it come out, you wish you could just grab it, pull it back in. But that's something that you can't do, you know. So that's why we have to go to the nonverbal strategy. Also, when we are speaking to each other, sometimes we need to use the repetition method. We have to repeat what we said to each other. So if I said something to her, she says she has to repeat it back to me. And I have to agree, yes, that is exactly what I said, or that's what I mean. If not, then she's going to say point of clarification. I have to clarify what I'm trying to give an example of something that can, you know, she can understand. And that way there won't be a difference. You know, I said one thing, she heard another. So those are just some of the strategies. Without going into more details, because there's a lot more, you know, but those are some of the major strategies that you can use.
Yeah, I think that's so good. And the thing that I learned early-ish in my marriage is that it does take some self-reflection before you go in, you know, for the kill. Because, you know, I didn't, when I first got married, I only had what I saw, which was two different models. I saw my stepmom and my mom, and they both handled conflict very differently, right? One of them would get really, really, really upset and just start yelling and screaming and crying, and you don't care about me, and, you know, I'm leaving, and just like really, really, really high emotion with not a lot of conflict resolution, right? And then you'd have my mom, who was like, she would just leave the situation, like, get me out of here, you know, whatever. And so it took me a while to figure out that if I could, you know, bring my emotions down, if I could really think about like, what is really happening? What am I upset about? What is it that I'm wanting? What is it that I feel like I'm not getting? And then I could go to my husband without all of the emotion involved and just say, this is how I feel. This is the problem. Here's some good solutions that I'm suggesting. That made that it was so much more effective than just like coming in all hot and like,
But you know, sometimes that's not as easy as we say it is, because like you said, that's what you saw growing up. That's kind of
Mm,
programmed in your mind.
yeah.
And so it's like, well, okay, if you, I don't know why you can't see it my way. And
Mm,
you know,
Right.
so that's why we have to say, well, okay, why is he seeing it his way?
mm,
What's his perspective? What's
yeah.
causing him to think that way and feel that way? Because we're selfish beings. I'm always thinking about, well, you're not doing what I want. You're not giving me what I want.
Mhm,
You don't see it my way. You're hurting me. Well,
yeah.
why do I feel that way? What is it that he's doing, that he feels is his way, or
Mhm,
what is he not, doing that he's not thinking about me? But we always, it's two people. It's not
yeah.
just one. We got to look at both sides. And
Yeah.
and as humans, that's just one of our failures. We only think about ourselves. You're
Mhm.
not giving me what I want. You don't see it my way. And when you politics, this is how it should be done. Forget about what you think and what you feel. It's me. Or finances, we want to buy this. It's me, 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 me.
Well,
Right?
but they have to get to the root cause of why they think like that. Like Monica mentioned, this is what she saw growing up in one household, and this is what she experienced in a different setting. So this is in turn the mindset she's bringing into the marriage. So you have to have those conversations so you can understand. It may not be that they're selfish. It may be that's what they saw growing up. So that's what they consider to be normal. So then you have to address that root cause. So going forward, you guys understand this is how we're communicating to one another. I need to understand that this may not be as healthy. So this is what I need to be intentional about going forward. But it's a
It's a
process.
process, because if you really think about it, the
Mhm,
key word was what? When I was growing up.
mhm,
So that means you were a child.
mhm,
So even though you're an adult, you're still thinking as a child, because that's how you saw it
mhm,
and that's how you were programmed as a child. But you then grow up into an adult to make
mhm,
adult decisions, have adult discussions,
mhm,
because you still have the mentality when it comes to conflict and those types of things,
mhm,
as what you like say. When I was growing up, that means child.
mhm,
So those are the things that we don't think about. Okay, man, I'm acting like a child because I'm thinking that's how I thought when I was a child. But as I grow up, I must think as an adult. Put away those childish things. That's somewhere in the Bible, God said that, didn't he?
But then also think about exposure. What if you don't have that conversation? For some of us, oh, it's common sense, but for some people, it's okay. You need to sit down and have that conversation, and then it helps you put two and two together. If not, you're just assuming that previous behavior was normal, and that's what you start to follow. So it's going to take those conversations to make sure you guys are understanding why, rather than pointing the finger at each other.
Yeah, and another thing I think is really helpful here is to find a trustworthy, neutral third party. And that can be a friend, it can be, well, it would have to be a really good friend, but, coaching and counseling and things like that.
Yeah.
They're so important because I think couples get into these cycles and they can't see their way out of it, right? You can't see
Right.
the label from the inside of the jar. And so it's nice to have somebody who is neutral, who cares about both parties, to come in and kind of say, like, here's your cycle, here's what you're both doing that's keeping
Yeah.
you stuck in this,
Mhm.
this way of doing things that's really dysfunctional, but you don't like it, but you don't know what to do about it because you're so
Right.
entrenched in your own view or this cycle that just keeps you stuck.
Yeah, that's true. That,
Definitely. And
that's
then,
true.
that's always something too with the couples, is that they don't want to open themselves over to something different, because that's what we're used to.
Yeah. Well, that requires a degree of vulnerability. And if you've been doing something that's, I wouldn't say inflicting damage, but making them feel bad, that's a part of that safe zone. Can they be honest with you and be vulnerable without you holding it over their head? So that's when it comes to creating that safe space. Okay, what we talk about in this space, it's going to remain in this space. It's not open for later on we have an argument and you pick that up as a tool and throw it at me
Right.
or hold it over my head, because that's going to make me withdraw. It's not going to feel like a safe space anymore. So that's why it's really, really important for couples to do that.
Part of the boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is so hard, but I think it's crucial to break these generational patterns of dysfunction. So,
Yeah.
if you want to hand down something really important, like your legacy down to your children, you've got to work out these kinks that, that maybe weren't handed down to you very well, but now you're an adult, you can take
Yes.
responsibility and now break these chains. So, can you tell everybody where they can find you and learn more about this new season you guys are about to
Oh, yes.
record and all the awesome things that you guys have going on?
Yeah, on this, our website, marriagescanwin.com, that's going to be the hub where it will take you to pretty much everything we're doing. We're under Marriage Can Win on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. Instagram, of
Also,
course. Oh yeah, I forgot about YouTube. That's like our hub though, Instagram. We love communicating back and forth via that, but it depends on what's convenient for the person because we love connecting. We like sharing about ourselves, but we like learning about others and always looking to glean and learn and just connect with others and grow.
but to learn more about our season 2 of Becoming the Millionaire
Oh
Power
yeah.
Couple, you can go to mpctv.live.
Yeah.
That's mpctv.live. And that's all the information there about season 1, sponsorships and information on season 2.
Excellent. Thank you so much. To learn more ways to deepen your intimacy and strengthen your relationship, make sure you watch this video next.